I'm making a short video about hooking a water line to your boat at the dock. It's a really bad idea. When I had my other boat in San Leandro, I thought about doing that, and then I started thinking about it, and I thought, well, what happens if a pipe breaks and I'm not there on the boat? The boat will sink. So I decided against it. And then I bought this boat, and I didn't connect any water lines to it either. So I just filled the water tanks up, and that's the safest thing to do, because if the water tank leaks, the boat ain't gonna sink. Matter of fact, you won't even notice it from the outside. The boat will still float at the same height. But one of my neighbors wanted me to help him tighten a pipe fitting, and so I said, yeah, I'll help you. So I went down to his boat, and he was plumbing in a water line into his boat from the dock, from the faucet on the dock. So he had a leak, and he was trying to get it to stop, so I was trying to help him tighten this pipe fitting. So I was on the inside of the boat, he's on the outside, and it wouldn't seal. He didn't realize you got to put pipe thread sealant on the pipe thread, like Teflon tape or something that'll keep the water from leaking. And so when I saw what he was doing, I warned him about it, and he did put a faucet right where the water was coming into the boat. He had a faucet, like you could reach out and turn it off. And I told him, I go, whenever you're not here on the boat, make sure you turn that valve off. And he kind of looked at me funny, like he didn't understand what I was saying. And so, at any rate, one day I come home, and something didn't look right in the marina. I mean, something just didn't look right. And I noticed his boat had sunk. And I mean, it completely sunk. And he had just gone to the hardware store for not a very long time. He was just gone for a while, maybe half an hour, an hour. And one of my other neighbors already had a pump set up and was trying to pump his boat out. And he came back, and it was a tragedy. You know, his boat was totally sunk. And he was living on the boat. So he jumped in the water and was trying to pull stuff out of there. You know, I told him, what you want to do is, as the boat starts to float up, get in there with the garden hose and just start hosing everything down with fresh water, because the salt water is going to corrode everything. And I don't think he did that. And so yeah, it was bad, and I felt bad for the guy. So don't ever connect a water line to your boat. Just fill up your water tanks. It's the safest thing to do. All it takes is a pipe breaking or leaking, and if you're not there, you're going to have a big problem. So what I do is I just fill up my tanks, and that's what I'm going to do right now. So I got this little tool here for taking the caps off. I got two tanks. I think they're 60 gallons. So it's 120 gallons total of water storage on this boat. So I have a tank on the starboard side under the settee in the main cabin, and then I have an identical tank, but it's on the port side. So I have to fill them from both sides. And what I usually do is, my tanks are connected with a hose inside the boat, and that way when one tank goes down, both of the tanks will drain at the same time, the same level. Now there's a valve under there that I can shut off to isolate the tanks and keep them separate. And that way, when you're sailing and the boat's heeled over, because when you're sailing usually on a reach, the boat will sail, it'll be leaned over, so the water's going to flow from one tank into the other. If both the tanks are totally full, then it's not a problem. But like if they're half full, what'll happen is you're sailing, the boat's heeled over, and water from the high side of the boat is going to drain into the low side of the boat, and it's going to make it heel even more. And if you have two tanks that are half full, what's going to happen is this tank over here is going to end up empty, and this tank's going to end up full on the other side. So, so I have a valve I can shut off to take care of that problem. So I'm going to go ahead and now just put some water in my tanks. Okay, so I have the filler cap here, and all I got to do is unscrews it. This side's kind of a pain because I can't go all the way around. I have to keep pulling this out and then putting it back in. Once I get it a little ways out, then I can just use my fingers. So I just take this off, and then I usually open the other one on the other side. That way, as this tank fills up, water's going to go through the hose to the other tank, and so it'll start filling up too. And so I like to take both these off when I fill them up at the same time. So that way air will go out of the other side too as it fills up. Okay, what I like to do is I just like to hold the hose up like this and kind of wash it off. I got it running a little too fast. I'm going to have to slow it down, I think. As the water starts to fill the tanks up, even though I have air vents on these tanks, the air pressure and water pressure kind of starts to build up. So I like to put this down in here quite a ways. And sometimes it'll blow the hose back out of the pipe. So you just may have heard that my stainless steel tank just popped. That's one thing that I don't like about my stainless steel tanks is when I fill them up, they pop, and it's really loud when you're in the boat. I mean, it makes you jump, and I don't like it because over time it's flexing back and forth, and I'm afraid that it's going to cause the tank to leak eventually. Though these are the original tanks that the boat was when the boat was built in 1975, so they're the original water tanks. Luckily, my fuel tank's new, relatively new. The previous owner put a new aluminum tank in. And as far as the fuel tanks go, it's popping again. Wow, it's already full. Okay. I think I'm just running a little too fast. But yeah, it's like Old Faithful. So yeah, I'm gonna have to cut the water pressure down a little bit. I filled these tanks up not too long ago, but I thought I used a lot more water than this. So as far as fuel tanks go, I bought this boat in Santa Cruz, a different boat, not this one, and I installed a diesel engine in it, and I wanted to use the original tank that was in it, and it had a little bit of fuel in the bottom, but it wasn't leaking or anything. And so I cleaned the tank out, and I took it to the research farm. It was really heavy. It wasn't aluminum. It was like steel. And about killed myself getting it out of the boat and moving it by myself. And getting it up to my truck and then taking it to the farm. I used a cutting torch, and I cut a big hole in the top so I could get in and look inside the tank and see what kind of condition it was in, also to clean it. And then I made a lid, and I welded a bunch of bolts on the top of the tank so I could bolt the lid down and seal it with a neoprene piece of rubber that I had gotten at the hardware store, and I had to cut out and make a gasket, drill all the holes in it. But when I steam cleaned the tank out, it had a bunch of pinholes in the bottom, the fuel tank did, and it leaked really bad, like a sieve. And so I found out about this tank sealer that 3M makes, their aerospace division, and Boeing uses it to coat their fuel tanks that are in their aircraft, in the wings and the center fuel tank and the fuselage, and those are aluminum tanks. And also NASA uses them to seal their liquid fuel for rockets. So that would be probably liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen. And so it was really good stuff. And so what I did was I just bought a quart. So it was like a 35-gallon fuel tank. It wasn't that big. And I bought a quart of this stuff, and I poured it into the tank, and then I tumbled the tank around. And it worked great. It sealed the tank up, no leaks. I don't think that tank will ever leak. And I wish the previous owner of this boat had done it to the fuel tank, because I asked him if he did that. And he said, no, it's a brand new tank. Why would I do that? And I go, well, it's been a good idea to do it. So I was trying to find some of that stuff. And I don't know if they make it anymore. I'm sure they do. They may have changed the name of it. But I can't remember what the name was. But it worked really well. And I was really impressed with it. So that fuel tank didn't leak at all, and I was able to save it. And the reason I wanted to keep it was because it was cut in a certain shape to fit in that boat under my bunk. So that worked out really good. So now you can see this is, I got the water pressure turned down, so I'm going to go open the other vent, the other filler cap I'm going to remove on the other side to let air out the other side as I'm filling it up on this side. Okay, so I'm just going to open up this side, and all I have to do here is unscrews it. That's all there is to it. This one I can spin around. This is nice. It makes it easy. So this is going to let air out now from the other side. So like I said, both tanks are connected with the hose underneath the floorboards in the boat. So this will let air escape as that side fills up, and also the water's going to be moving from through the hose over into this tank too at the same time. So once that side's full, then I'll come over and fill this side up. So it takes a little while. Okay, there it goes. Old Faithful. That's just air coming back out, so it's still not full. So it's got a little ways to go still. These tanks weren't very low. Usually when they're empty, it takes quite a while to, okay, now it's full because it's not blowing air out. So this should be good here. So now I'm just going to go ahead and take the hose over to the other side and fill up the other side. Okay, that's good. Okay, I'm just going to leave this filler cap off while it's filling on the other side. Then once both tanks are full, then I'll just cap them off and it'll be done. So I like to make sure my water tanks have water in them, especially when I'm cooking, because I don't like to have to come out here and do this in the middle of cooking dinner. And especially in the wintertime if it's raining and cold. So if I'm going to be cooking and I'm not sure my water level, the thing with the tanks on this boat is I don't have any way to measure the amount of water in the tanks yet. I'm going to have to do, that's going to be a future project. I just need to get some water gauges put on the tank. So I'll probably get sonic ones maybe that are electronic, so it'll tell me the levels. And I need to do the same thing for my fuel tank. The fuel tank doesn't have a fuel gauge, and the last thing you want to do is run a diesel engine out of fuel, because what happens then is that you get air in the fuel lines, and all it takes is one little bubble of air, and the engine will not start. And then you have to bleed the whole damn system. And usually what you have to do is loosen usually the first injector fuel line, the high pressure fuel line going to the first injector on the engine, and crank the engine. And what happens is fuel's going to start spilling out all over your engine, but that gets the air out of the fuel lines. And once the air is out, then the engine will start, and then you tighten the high pressure fuel line back down onto the injector, and it's usually the first cylinder. That's how it was on my other boat. I haven't had this problem yet on this boat, and so I haven't had to bleed the fuel line. So I'm going to have to change the fuel filters here pretty soon. So I'll have to bleed the system. And on my other boat, it was a real pain because there's a lift pump that has a little lever, and it moves just a small amount of fuel. And that's the pump that runs. There's like a cam that runs that little lift pump, and it makes it pump fuel. That's the fuel pump. And so it's got a little manual lever for bleeding the air out. And I couldn't hardly reach it on my other boat. I had to almost stand on my head and pump that damn thing for, felt like hours to get the fuel through the system. I had to I'd fill up the secondary fuel filter so I wouldn't have to pump that much, but it was still a lot. And so sounds like it's starting to get full. So these tanks weren't very empty. And it's amazing how fast I use up the water on these tanks. I have it's a pressurized water system. So you turn the faucet on just like at your house and water comes out. So it's fine at the marina, but when you're, out cruising and you're miles offshore, days offshore, you have to conserve your water. And so maybe a future project might be putting a water maker on this boat so you can take salt water and turn it into fresh water. Okay, it's good. Now I'm going to go turn the faucet off and close them up, and it'll be done. I've had this hose for a long time. I like it because I can roll it up and it doesn't get all kinked. Some hoses are a real pain. This one's not bad. Okay, and I'm just going to cap it off, and it's done. And all I got to do is screws it down, and it's done. I don't put them on real tight. Okay, let's just close this side off. Okay, so that's how I take care of my water tanks. Just fill them up. There is safety valves that you can get if you're going to plumb it from the dock into your boat, so you don't have to fill your tanks up all the time. There are safety shutoff valves that you can get, but me personally, I don't think I'd trust them. If they fail, your boat can sink, and the last thing you want your boat to sink. I mean, that's one of the worst things that can happen to your boat is a sink or fire. So both are catastrophic, and salt water ruins everything that it comes in contact with pretty much. So, and electronic stuff, your electrical system, even brass and stuff, you got to clean it because that salt water is going to turn it all green really quick. And so you need to, you just need to be safe. And, I do see boats around the marina that are plumbed directly in. And, I just don't recommend it. So it's kind of a pain to have to come out and fill the water tanks up, especially when you're in the middle of like cooking dinner and you run out of water. Now, once I get water gauges on my tanks, then it's not going to be such a problem because I'll know I have plenty of water to cook dinner and I don't have to worry about it. But the thing is that with these tanks and not having a water gauge, I I go through the water in these tanks really fast. It's surprising. And even though I try to conserve, you know, when you have pressurized water and you turn the faucet on just like at your house, it's amazing how much water you waste. So, so that's how I deal with this. And just, you know, it's a good idea just to be safe as you can. And now I don't have to worry about any pipes breaking and my boat flooding. You know, a lot of people say in the wintertime that, oh, you're lucky, you don't, because houses, you know, levees will break and houses will flood. And I've actually had someone once tell me, oh, you're lucky you live on a boat, you don't have to worry about that, your house, you know, during a flood. And it's like, no, I live with that every day of my life. Because if a through-hole fitting fails, a hose connected to a through-hole fitting fails when I'm not here, the boat can sink. And so I have seven underwater through-hole fittings, and it's best to have as few as possible. I was watching, I think it was Yacht Hunter, and he bought a boat that had like 28 through-hole fittings under the water line. And man, I don't think I'd buy a boat if it had that many, because yeah, I'd want to get under there, haul the boat out and seal up and just get rid of as many as possible. Some people like to just, you know, have one or two. You got to have probably at least 2 or 3, but and plus for your cockpit to drain, you're going to have some for that. Usually they can be slightly above the water line, like my boat. They're slightly above the water line, and they're pretty far forward under the bottom of the boat, but they're just above the water line, as long as I don't have too much weight in the back of the boat. So they're safe, and they drain. I don't have a problem. If you have your scuppers too far back, those are the drains that drain the cockpit. If the boat's designed with them farther back, that when you're sailing, especially when the boat's moving fast, water can get pushed up and actually go into your cockpit while you're sailing. And there's been some boats that had that problem, but most boats don't, because they're designed properly. Yeah, so that's it. And if you found this video to be helpful or entertaining, please like and subscribe.